Terrible, dude.
You're in a budget
Bread
insane
is
asylum.
bread, and the nurses are mental.
It's me a sad.
That's funny. But yeah. Okay. So what would you guys like to talk about while we wait for Crocodile?
We could
Believe
just
we're talking about boots.
Talk about what?
About the state of boots.
Boots. So what do you guys think about boats?
Not the British high street pharmacy chain, but the boats, obviously.
that's a premium joke right there.
Thank you.
But yeah, boats. I mean, I've been enjoying them personally. I know we've been playing a little bit. Kath, your opinion on them kind of changed, right? Since we've been playing.
My opinion on them kind of changed. I didn't really understand, which is I suppose one of the things that you've talked about, Oxy, is that I didn't really get the whole aiming thing
Mm-hmm.
because no tutorials and impatient wham. And now that I do, I have a. It's still. Meh. I haven't really spent that much time grinding it. I will happily admit to this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in the grand scheme of things, I enjoy it more now than I did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like the learning curve, I think, is a little interesting, especially like you said with no tutorials.
Definitely, like that's. I think that's the only thing really. It's just people go into it, and the only thing they kind of know is go to the cap circles and point and click on boats, and they don't explain anything else. Like there's loads of unbound controls, like the ranging isn't explained, and there's just loads of little things like that. And I think that's what the main problem is, because I mean, there are people, even people in G Squad, like and I wrote like he wasn't interested in boats at all from just playing a little bit. But after you get the hang of the controls and like just how the tactics work, it's enjoyable. And I think people just got to give it some time. And also on Gaijin's side, they really need to implement a tutorial.
I think.
To be fair, though, if
definitely.
you bring something into the wider fore, and the argument from people who've played it to people who haven't really played it is, nah, just give it a chance. Maybe needed a bit more work beforehand.
Could have been. I agree with that. I think it's hard to grasp like the PT boats and then the destroyers. They operate very different. You know, like a PT boat, you have to you don't have to micromanage as much, but you have to focus on like those close quarter combat aiming and like launching torps and stuff. While when you're a destroyer, you got to figure out how to range find and how to shoot below the belt and hit the ammo stowage and stuff like that.
I mean, yeah, there isn't really, obviously in terms of like sort of battleship armor belts, that doesn't really exist, but sort of definitely hitting below the waterline is a thing, yeah.
Yeah. See, some of the ships do have belt armor, like the Emden.
Not
and
degree as a battleship.
yeah, no, of course not.
But
I mean, these are light
in terms of all the
cruisers.
warships, when you're talking about hitting below the belt, that's
Yeah, but still, you know, getting in that kind of mindset
in
to
the sweet spots.
yeah, to shoot like
Yeah.
that.
What bothers me as a person who is quite fond of the cast, quite fond of using planes to kill things on the ground and in the sea, is that every plane has automatic anti-aircraft if they don't turn it off, and most of the time they don't turn it off. So it makes it really difficult to have an effect as a plane, which I suppose is kind of the point. I mean, there's a lot of people on a ship, so there are a lot of people to be doing those things kind of finger quotes automatically, but I don't know, the game, the playability of it to me is a bit off.
So a big thing when you're playing these boats too is you're not a gunner. You know, like in a tank, you're the guy who's technically gunning when you aim the turret and stuff. But like in a boat, you act as like the commander. So you have to understand that like the guns will rotate, not by you so much doing so. It's more about picking the target, and then it's like tracking them and then figuring out the range.
You are definitely somewhat removed.
Yeah. And that's pretty apparent.
Something that I've just experienced in the game that I am in is spawn camping. So spawned in, sailed out of the point a little bit, and someone was immediately behind me in the spawn. Because there is no safe zone at the moment.
Yeah, so you do get a 10-second invincibility, kind of like how you do in tanks. But the issue with that is some of the ship maps work really well, I think, and some work really poorly. So it could be some of the earlier maps that were implemented pretty, like, first. If you sail a little bit, you end up in the spawn inevitably. while there's
Yeah.
other maps where the spawn's open, so you can just see people spawning in.
Yes.
Some of them have really easy access for the destroyers to get into the middle. And I don't have a problem with PT boats fighting destroyers. I just think how fast they can get into the middle is kind of pretty annoying. Like, you know,
I was
you'll...
just on Northport.
Yeah, I'm
I don't know
trying
if
to
you know
think.
that map.
Yeah, I don't know really the names of the ship maps just yet. But yeah. And of course, there is less cover for the destroyers on certain maps and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think a lot of the problem with that is just all of the maps really, I think apart from two, I think, were designed with just PT boats in mind. So they've just tacked on the destroyers to the open part of the map, and I think so there's a lot of room for making that actually work, because at the moment it is just on some maps it's terrible. So yeah, I think again a lot of it is this has just come out of CBT. I mean, there's going to be so many changes. Like when tanks came out of CBT, they were quite terrible. Like
Yeah.
they weren't super fun. And I think I think it definitely has potential, the mode. Just in general, I think a lot of the problems that are quite obvious are definitely going to be fixed. And I think that shouldn't put people off the mode entirely.
No, of course not. And they're not going to wipe
Yes,
them
it will be
anymore.
fixed. And it does have potential. But to raise these problems now and to say these things now is to encourage or create an impetus for those things being changed and fixed.
Of course.
I don't think that anyone here is using any of these points to detract or say don't play the mode. It's just that these are the sort of omnipresent problems of the mode.
Yeah, these things take time. It doesn't just happen where, they need it to be tested and stuff like that. They're still relatively new. But I don't think they're not open to fixing these things. You know what I mean? I don't think like Gaijin's just not going to fix them and keep the boats the same for the rest of eternity. I mean, they're making moves to add pretty unique things like mines and stuff like that. There's already depth charges, and I think that's pretty cool. So, if they're adding things like that, that obviously warrants more types of ships. You don't really use a depth charge to kill a boat. You use it to kill a sub.
Well, I mean, I think on the subject of subs, I know Sonar's in the channel. I can see him talking in the chat, and Sonar is obviously a big sub boy. And I think he would probably have some opinions that we could talk to about sometime regarding subs.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
a big load of experience. But I mean,
Of course.
in this era, they're basically diesel boats that have like very few torpedoes and maybe a gun on the deck.
Yeah.
So I think in practical application in this game, it would mostly just be like super low in the water things with a gun on.
Well, I think for subs to be added, obviously we know they tested them last April Fools. They had the subs with the guided torps and stuff, but these are very modern subs that there's not really many games that show those. More what I'm thinking about is like the World War II stuff, and those subs they would work, but they're not really meant to kill destroyers. They're just killing big ships, like really big things, cargo boats. And so I would think that they would add some type of like like AI boats. I remember when they were first introduced, they had that convoy escort game mode.
Yeah.
So something like that with subs would be really cool, because a sub isn't going to necessarily go after a sub destroyer. It's more so going to go after the cargo boats and stuff like that. So a game mode where you can like go after the subs and the subs are going after that would be pretty cool.
Yeah, I guess they could function like the bombers of naval in that regard. The convoy's the objective.
Very interesting way of looking.
Yeah, I know AI ships are 100% coming to the mode. If any of you watching or any of you now go into your achievements tab and then click on challenges, there's a ship one there called Convoy Hunter, and the criteria is targets, bots, and AI, and it's called Convoy Hunter. And so we're getting those things are coming eventually, maybe alongside subs. Who knows?
Yeah.
That kind of thing is definitely going to appear at some point.
I really like what you said then about them being the bombers of naval.
Yeah, it's I think that dynamic could kind of actually work, because I think people are kind of worried that they move really slow, You know, they're going to be hiding around all the time. But I think if they have like an actual objective that's, you know, important to the match winning, and it's not just hovering over circles in the middle of islands that don't really mean anything, I think they'd actually work a lot better than just kind of plodding about sinking destroyers.
Yeah. And I mean, we have like tank assault right now, but I think a boat assault or something like that would be pretty cool. Where you can familiarize yourself with like the guns and how to aim them, things like that. Because I mean, there's nothing really like that right now. You just kind of hop in boats and they throw you in the water. Excuse my metaphor. Throw you in the deep end. And you got to figure out how to do stuff against people who are, you know, already doing things.
I remember we were playing that one round, and I got a bit heated because I got murdered by someone, and you went, "Yeah, you see that thing that you just got killed by? Yeah, that's way more powerful than you are." And you explained it to me, and I thought, well, yeah, maybe I should have looked at that for myself, but
yeah,
I can see how someone would just become frustrated with that and get irky about it.
Yeah, because
like I do, like someone like you telling me, that might cause someone to quit the mode, you know.
Yeah, because there's a thing, like, you'll be playing low tier, and obviously there's not, like, Germany versus Russia or anything like that. It's all the nations versus all the nations. So when you have something like a PT boat that looks the same as the 1.3 PT boat, only it's got 420s on the back and a 40 on the front and more torpedoes, and it's faster, and you don't even know that. You're just like, oh, this is an Elko. This should be easy, and you die, like, right away. You know, it's tough. It's tough. There's a lot of different boats. I mean, part of that's just like kind of the same thing when you're learning about tanks. Is like,
Yeah.
oh, this tank does this. If I breach it, I can do this or that. And that segues into the PR 159 Rainbow just mentioned in chat. It's like, yeah, that's a boat with really effective guns, but it only has 2 cannons on it, like 2 turrets. And in a Type 140, which is a 3.3, I think, German boat, maybe it's 3.7.
I think they're up tiering it soon, 237.
Yeah, it should be, but something like that can take out a 159 the same way it would take out that ship. You know, if you play it properly and you're hiding it and you catch them off guard, you can knock out one of the turrets with a couple bursts of the 40 mils and then knock out the other turret, and then that ship is useless. It can't even destroy destroyers or anything like that. While something like the Fletcher, while it doesn't have those auto-firing cannons, it has like 8 turrets that all rotate pretty fast and stuff. So, you know, knowing the modules, and modules still work the same. You know, you breach a tank, you can breach a ship. You can knock out their cannons, you can take out the people on the deck, but it's just there's more of the crew. And knowing to do that at certain points it's helped me, at least when I'm in like a smaller boat dealing with a bigger boat. You don't always want to just shoot at the boat like waterline and just be like, oh, this is it. It requires a little bit more micromanaging with like what you're shooting at it. Are you shooting HE? Are you shooting AP? Yeah. You know, I know some of the boats have like these proximity shells that will penetrate the armor and then blow up inside the tank, or the boat, I should say, which is pretty cool. But it's like learning about all that stuff. It's the same thing. It's a whole new learning process, just like tanks were.
You can also smack things out the air with those proximity pieces.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. But so yeah, I don't know, I think it just requires more time. Definitely, you know, yeah. Just playing it more, testing these things out. Obviously the BRs aren't perfect, like we said. They're definitely going to change some of these things, because you could deal with, you know, these annoying boats that you see constantly, and you're just trying to play your 2.3 S100 and you're running into Type 140s that are just decimating you. And I mean, I do it every game. I can't say I don't. I love using my Jaguar and shit to just decimate all these little boats. But, you know, that's about it.
I'm adopting a stance of cautious optimism, but I'm not, I haven't had the sort of impetus or drive to grind out the trees properly yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I think a lot of the problem like that, again, is that PT boats just intrinsically to people who like this kind of thing aren't as interesting. Like, they're the least interesting. Like tanks, like they're easy to like. Same with planes, like all types of planes. But with ships, I mean, I don't really know anyone who, like, you know, would say that they're more interested just as like concepts as in PT boats than destroyers and battleships. I just don't think
Yeah.
that's a thing. I think that probably contributes a little bit to people being a little bit iffy on. Yeah, I think along the line we'll probably have to see larger ships. Maybe not battleships, sure, but I think Gaijin know how to make money. They know what people want, so people are going to pay for large stuff. And that's just that's good.
What did you say? You cut off.
Like,
Are you finishing that?
Oh, I just think we're going to see a lot of development in like a lot of bigger ships and more cruisers and destroyers you can buy, and I don't know battleships because maybe they just won't work at all.
So this is another good talking point. It's like we do all want battleships technically, right? Like they're really cool, but the way War Thunder works now is they don't speed it up. So a game like World of Warships is a easy comparison just because they're both boat games, but in reality, a battleship doesn't go fast. It's not fast. It's not speedy. The guns take forever to aim, and these things can shoot miles, like miles. That's normal engagement range. It's fine. You're shooting miles away. And like something like that in War Thunder right now, at least, isn't gonna work. Not yet, at least. And then you have the issue if it's a normal type of tech tree boat, like you can get the Bismarck. Is everybody just gonna play the Bismarck off the bat? Or
this is definitely something that they brought up in the Q&A where they're talking about battleships, and they basically just said, look, there's very limited sort of variety that we can put in, and nations do not have equality or sort of parity. So that, I think, will be their main problem, because they will, if they can implement it for the sake of people playing the mode more and putting their money into the game. They're a business. They have to make money.
of
just
course.
a fact. If they can implement it in a way that is good, they will. But if they can't put it in for the sake of it's not going to be playable or fun, and there's going to be inherent imbalance more so than you get in top tier tanks, then they won't do it.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously, you can get sort of stuff that's similar to battleships, like heavy cruisers and things like this. Obviously, it's not quite the same as using a Bismarck, but it's not that far off, really.
Yeah. Well,
That's
I
true.
think I think it's cool to, I don't know, maybe some type of like power up. I'm thinking like the same way that arcade works when you get like a plane spawn. If you're doing well enough in a boat, maybe you're the one battleship on the field or something like that. Would be pretty cool. And if one battleship spawns, the other team has to spawn one too, type of thing, or a couple of them. And I mean, I think that would even work with some of the bigger boats anyway. Well, what do you guys feel about that? Like if that was the case?
Yeah, like maybe just like even controlling the gunners.
Yeah.
Like for a minute or so, like that could be something. But I don't know how that would work. Like if it would work that well as a gameplay standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know where they would put it. Like I mean for battleships, like just in general, like where do you, if you had one as a power up, where would you put it on the map so that it was effective and not too effective?
See,
like if you put it...
that's a good idea about like just controlling the gunners. If the ship was on its natural course anyway, and let's just say it was kind of there the entire match, and the enemy team had one too, but it kind of just went with like the fleet of AI boats, and then you could spawn as the gunner. Kind of like Battlefield. I remember Battlefield 1, like with the behemoths. You could spawn in the boat, but you didn't really sail it. Or like somebody sailed it and you were in the gun type of thing.
That would definitely be breaking new ground for War Thunder, though. Multi-crewing a vehicle. That's
Well, I'm not even saying multi-crewing it. I was just talking about like...
No, but I mean like several players attached to the same piece of thing is...
That would be cool.
Game object.
I wasn't even talking about several people, but that would be cool if you just controlled like one turret on the like in Iowa, for example.
I get just because in Battlefield they are multiple people, but yeah, I get. I see where you're coming from now.
I just think it would be cool if that was the case. The way I'm thinking about it is like I like the whole idea of like an AI fleet anyway that you can attack, because I think that would spread people out more, Because right now you spawn in a destroyer or a cruiser even. You spawn up, you look forward, all the enemies are there, and you either sail left or right and then start shooting at them. Some of the maps don't work like that. There's one of the snow ones that I think, or the Arctic ones, is really good with how the glaciers and icebergs and stuff are set up.
Yeah, I really
Because you
like
can
that
like move around on far sides of the map, but also go inland, like inside the middle, or you can continue on your normal course as a destroyer, and you don't see them right away. So I think like just moving some of the spawn points and stuff would be pretty beneficial to how the boats play out.
I agree. Yeah, and convoys would definitely really be a good addition. And I mean for some, because there's some definite problem boats at the moment, like the Jaguar and the 159.
Yeah.
I think giving the ships that can't compete against those something else to do away from them, like attacking a convoy or something, like giving them an actual task to do, and where they don't actually need to combat those ships to win, like just capping a point or whatever. Like if that boat's there, you know, that, I mean, sure, you're probably going to take it out, but it's going to take about, you know, 5-10 of you to do it if you're all in PT boats. So
Yeah.
having those boats go off and do something else, I think is an important thing as well.
Well, I was even talking a little bit about having a port. I think we touched on this last week, like some type of repair station in the back. And I think it would be cool if that had a health bar. Not to digress too much from what we were just talking about, but like if there was some type of port in the back that had a health bar, I think it would give the barge boats a real job. Because you could put like one of these German flak barges. You'd be like, all right, I'm going to protect the port because planes are going to come in and try to bomb this so we can't respawn, or if it was respawn or healing or any type of thing, or ammo, more crew, picking up more crew from a port or something like that. And if that was an objective, that gives the planes ideas on not just going after these ships that inevitably AI you to death whenever you fly within 2K of them.
Mm-hmm.
So like the plane would go after like the port or something like that, and these people who are in the flak barges could kind of just chill outside the port and shoot some planes down that are going after that, and the destroyers and stuff, when they're hurt, would start going backwards to go heal themselves, and maybe mess with how the timer is on the countdown, like the ticket bleed would be pretty cool if it was maybe a longer game. I mean, these are just things for the future, but these are game modes that could be implemented. That would be cool. Maybe a PT only game.
Yeah, I do like that idea because, I mean, when you get the hang of it, you can definitely hassle destroyers with the PT boats, but I think for like most people, they don't really want to have to be fighting them, and like just PTs like versus PTs, like with the armored river boats and stuff. I think that creates a good enough dynamic.
Yeah, because there are still some PT boats that get PT boat spawns that are pretty armored and pretty strong.
LC.
Yeah, the LCS, the 165 foot and the 110 foot American boats are really good. They're just super strong, and they get they're more like a mini destroyer. And they move a little slower, of course, but even that German barge, the last one, I don't know the name of it, but it's huge and it gets a ton of guns on it.
Yeah, the ADF 1 and 3, I think.
Yeah.
On the subject of different game modes, I would definitely put my 2 cents in that is something that needs to happen across the board.
Yeah.
Not just in naval.
Yeah.
Variety of game modes is definitely a sort of present issue. Obviously, the conversations we've had about ARB and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's getting stale, to be honest. If I'm quite honest. You can add any of the coolest vehicles ever, and they're just going to lose their shelf life faster if these game modes don't become more dynamic and more fun to play.
This is it. If you're putting cool new stuff into the same game modes and the same maps, people are just going to be like, oh, yeah, you know, I've got an M1 IP, but I'm still playing the same map that I've been playing for the last year.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and the map rotation, I mean, it's pretty dated at this point. I've figured out kind of how it works, and I'm not a fan. I understand that they do, like, oh, these are the 5 maps you'll play today. And if you join the same different server within this time slot, you'll get on the same map. And it's kind of like, this is annoying.
I imagine they do it so it's like less of a load on the server if they're running the same map all the time.
I wouldn't even have an issue with that as long as the rotation was good. You know, you see Italy once per day maybe, and not 15. I'd be
Exactly.
super excited about that because I mean,
I
frankly,
like Italy. Don't bully Italy.
yeah, I mean, we all like our own things. That's fine. I'm not saying it's a bad map. I just leave it because I get sick of playing it 35 times in a row
Mhm.
when it still has the same issue that I think should have been fixed
I
fucking
have
months ago.
less fun on it. I have less fun on it now than I did before they fixed the ground resistance.
Yeah,
Like putting initial D in my head and running around
Yeah.
in Abrams at top speed, best thing ever. I wish they would revert just because it was a fun different thing. Like you were playing Speedy Boys as speedy as they could possibly be all the time, and it was good.
yeah, I think that's cool too. And I mean, like a game mode where that would happen would be cool. I like the idea of a game mode for tanks, planes, anything that's where everybody has upgraded crews and upgraded tanks. So it's an even playing field and it's more skill based. I think that would be cool. But these are
Yeah, I
things
like
that, you know,
That's a direction potentially that tournaments could go.
that's my whole idea on tournament. How? It doesn't make sense to me that you would make something so competitive for money or Golden Eagles or whatever it is, and not everybody's on the same playing field unless they grind,
Exactly.
which doesn't make sense to
100%
me.
agree on
You know,
I think this is one of the reasons that events and sort of April Fools events and the football event and all this stuff they get so much hype and they're so good is because they are finger quotes back. Like you are using the same sort of non-tree upgraded cruise vehicles as everyone else. You're all on the same level playing field doing the same thing,
which is awesome, and I think that
which
should
is good
be.
for competition. I mean, it's not good for the historical aspects, obviously, but like.
You know, I mean, personally, I've played a lot of this game, and I still want some type of, you know, I'd like that. I'd like to be on the same level as everybody with a certain tank, and maybe playing for higher stakes type of thing.
Yeah, I like that. It's like I 100% agree on the cruise thing and like all that stuff. Because say like what if say hypothetical New Thunder League or whatever. So last match, there's two people left, and they both roll around the corner. They both fire at each other, and they both bounce. But one of them has an ace crew, and one of them doesn't. So the guy who has bought the ace crew wins the whole thing. And I think like obviously that's a situation that's probably never going to happen. But because that can happen, it's not like completely equal on everyone, like on everyone's part. I don't think that just intrinsically works competitively if some other people have set advantages over the people they're playing against.
Exactly. I mean, the whole theory behind it is a tournament, if people can gather and make a team and communicate. If the other team all has crews that they bought and the one team didn't because they're not pay to win with the air quotes, they're at a disadvantage, and it's not even a slight disadvantage. I would say it's pretty severe. The difference between an aced crew and like let's say a level 50 expert crew even. It's
100%.
It's night and day. And you wouldn't know that just playing War Thunder every day unless you had both. But if you really sat down, and I know you did for this video, I saw you do it. If you really sit down and play an aced tank that's spaded versus like a stock tank with a stock crew, it's crazy. It is insane.
It's terrible.
How much the difference. And we're not even talking just about how fast it goes or how fast it reloads or how fast the turret goes. We're talking about the gun dispersion. The gun will physically not shoot where you're shooting.
Exactly, and that just I think in the game that shouldn't happen, but even, like especially in a competitive stance, that can't work.
Yeah, no,
This is very true.
I don't think it can. Back on the boat thing real quick, because I saw somebody in chat said they didn't want somebody to drive your boat. I wasn't personally talking about multi-crew. I was using Battlefield as an example of how you could spawn in something after you're doing well. But I wouldn't want somebody to sail a battleship without shooting the guns. I was just thinking more along the line like the AI had a predetermined path with a fleet, and you just got to operate the guns for X amount of time.
To clarify, that's also not what I thought. I just know that there's in the dreadnoughts and stuff. There was multi-crews, so that's what where it came to my mind is that there was a bunch of people attached to the same object, not necessarily sailing it or controlling it, just one person in the same place. Coding wise, that's a different thing.
Yeah, but I don't think I'd want multi-crew things just yet. Because I understand that whole, oh, this dude doesn't know what he's doing, he's driving this way. Like, there's too much toxicity right now to even do that.
Definitely. Okay, so here's a thing we can talk about. So, hypothetical, right?
Mm-hmm.
The ships in general, Gaijin are running out of money. They need to introduce battleships to get some draw to the game. They need people to buy packs and get into all betas and stuff. But they don't know how to implement them. Say, hypothetically, they've asked us three for whatever reason to come up with some ideas to add functionality to them and make them actually work in the game with like unlimited resources. What do we do? What are you guys' ideas like to make them work if we had to, if they could work?
Battleships.
Yeah.
Ship radar.
Okay.
Radar guided fire control systems.
That would be cool.
If you want battleships to work properly, you need to have massive with the fire control systems that they typically would have that can fire over tens of kilometers.
True. I agree with
that. It's not just fully some guy with a pen and paper saying, oh, we should do this and that. Like, artillery wise, this is a moving vehicle, this is you need a fire control processing.
Yeah. I think that would be good. I like the idea, like I said, of the AI fleet type of thing with a power up. And I think that would even work with subs. So, subs, if everybody could spawn in one, chances are most people are going to spawn in them, right? Like, people like the PT boats and they like the destroyers and stuff. But if you could spawn in a submarine, that's pretty cool. I think that's pretty fun.
A lot of people spawn in low tier bombers, but not everyone spawns in a B-29 or a T-4.
Well, that's just because they cost like 40K to repair.
Yeah, but it's not like they are as popular top tier as they are lower down.
That's
maybe.
But that's also like ARB.
Helicopters in that they don't start from the bottom.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I agree. But I'm just saying, if you're in a certain tier, let's just say. So they're only up to 5.0 for these cruisers. So let's say you're in a 10.0 game with battleships. Of course, some of these ships will probably make it into that tier. You know what I mean? Some of the destroyers and stuff will start to... I think the BR spread will become looser at top tier for boats. And I think it probably should. Because one torp right now kills anything. And you get torps at tier 1. So, there's that. But if you could... let's say you get a couple kills, you die, you get the option to spawn in a battleship. Maybe the other team doesn't have the battleship in the fleet. Like, this is what I'm thinking. I'm thinking of, like, 2 fleets, like, moving at a set pace. And you get to spawn in the gunners, and you can hit the other fleet, for example. Like, they're fighting already before anybody's in them. And you get the same sort of power-up. You'd be like, you could spawn in the gunner on the battleship, or you could spawn a submarine. And... the way I'm seeing this work in the tech tree is you probably still have to grind them out, even though you can't take them straight into a battle, but they'll be more of like a separate entity. It'll be like the Bismarck, and you can upgrade the guns and parts FP type of thing, because they don't want to lose the module system. And the same thing for submarines, just you're not able to take them out right away, or maybe the spawn points highly increased, so you have to be doing really well to spawn in one of these things.
I like that idea. There's only the one thing I kind of thought about while I was going through just ideas for if it was like a power up or a spawn point thing, like taking out a sub or like a really heavy ship in the late game. It's like they're really slow, and if you're spawning it like halfway into the battle, it's probably how do we make it get there and actually manage to do something in time?
Exactly.
Like, it's spawned in the middle of the game. Like, there's so many problems with it.
There would have to be some sort of tweaking. What if it was a game mode? Just quick, Kath. What if it was like a game mode that wasn't relying on tickets off of caps? It was relying off of destroying the enemy fleet percentage. So like the percentage of the fleet went down as you destroyed more and more of these boats. And I mean, they could even... this is another topic that I'd like to touch on too, is like aircraft carriers.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we have a ton of naval planes that are able to take off and land on aircraft carriers, but we have no implementation of them in boats yet, which would be really cool. I'd like the the whole thing to maybe if you spawn in a plane that can't land on a carrier, you have to take off from an island that's farther out, so you have a longer time to get into the battle. While if you spawn in a naval plane, you can take off straight from the carrier that's already a part of this AI fleet.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay. To tie some of these ideas together, I believe the best way that you would bring battleships into the game is open water combat, not not sort of coastal fights, which is what we've got at the moment. It's all fights around coastlines and stuff. Maybe some small archipelagos, but open. Maybe you can research these things. Maybe not. Maybe there's another mechanism to actually gain access to them. But you would nominate 1 or 2 players via whatever means to get access to this battleship, and maybe this battleship could have the same sort of if you lose it, you lose the game thing of airfields in ARB.
Of course, yeah.
Right, so as soon as it gets destroyed, you take it to piss down and you disappear. With regards to subs, to stop everyone from spawning in them, maybe you have to get to, say, tier 4 before you can research a sub of whatever BR it may be. I don't really know how you would tie it into, the sort of the open water fight. I mean, a lot of battleships. I think more battleships died to or took damage from air power than anything else, right?
Yeah.
So player-controlled aircraft carrier is not the best thing, because what are you really going to do on an aircraft carrier around in the middle of the sea? Having, however, static or mobile aircraft carriers in some sort of convoy mission, open water, would be brilliant. I'd love that.
Well, see, that's also what I'm thinking. I'm not thinking these small maps with a battleship fleet. I'm thinking like we take Midway as a map, and on each side of Midway is a huge fleet. One Japan, one America, for example, and maybe there's 2 or 3 carriers in each of those. You get a couple battleships, some cruisers, some destroyers, some refueling ships and stuff. You could spawn in the middle of Midway and have your little PT battle. You could spawn with the fleet as a destroyer or a cruiser, and try to get closer. And then the aircraft carriers get X amount of planes to launch, and people can spawn in those and take off from the carrier. I think that would be a cool system. Obviously, there's a lot of kinks that you'd have to work out. These are just ideas, but I think it would be fun.
Absolutely.
I like Battle Stations Midway. I don't know if you guys have ever played that.
Game, yeah.
That game is so fun. And they did spawning in a multitude of different ships really well, and stuff like that, where you had to destroy the ports and you could spawn in.
I mean, 1942 did multi-crew gun ships pretty well.
I didn't really play that.
Ago.
Yeah.
You've never played Battlefield 1942?
No, I played the one that was on the Xbox 43, I think.
Oh God.
Yeah.
You didn't play Vietnam either, then, did you?
Nope.
Oh, slick.
Yeah, I didn't. I wasn't a PC boy for a long time.
I've been thinking about this for like a few days, about how this eventually would work in the long run, like naval forces, like when it's all finished and it's like this is going to be how it works. And I think it's easy. It would be easier to implement like you get a kill streak spawn in a battleship. You can nominate someone to spawn in a battleship. Well, there's only 1 per game, but like I don't think that works from like a game standpoint. In that if people grind a battleship out or whatever, they're going to want to be able to constantly play it.
Of course.
This is what I'm saying. Maybe there's some other means to access it other than grinding it out.
So
maybe some type of special game mode. Keep going.
The thing I thought about what could work is, say there's a game mode and it's 2 convoys, and both teams have a convoy, and but let's hypothetically say it's probably the best way to balance it. But there's a set amount of tonnage each team can have. So one team maybe could choose like 3 people get into one team as battleships, and a few more people get in as cruisers and destroyers. But that team has less players on it than the other team, who maybe only have 1 battleship and lots of other little types of boats. And that way people can play what they like, and it's all kind of equaled out in that all the types of ships are kind of, they make up like a collective, I don't know, like power rating, like a hypothetical number like that. So it's not, so people can actually play what they want, and it's not like you're waiting in a queue for an hour because each team can only have 1 battleship. If it's dynamic to the point where it's balanced like that, I think it would work. And they could all spawn in different areas and have their own things to do. And I think that's a way that it could eventually turn out and it could work. But the range thing I think comes in as well. Like, you know, Battleship, I don't know the range, but imagine it's like tens of miles that they can engage from. And I know quite a lot of the criticism people have, even with destroyers, is that they're too slow and there's not a lot to do while you're just sailing about and doing nothing. So for those people, you know, battleships are cool. They want to have action, and there's going to be action. You can engage ships or whatever, but you know, you can't spawn directly in range of each other. I don't think that's going to work, because it'll just end up being who ranges the other in first.
Yeah, who's a little bit better at aiming, who's faster at it.
So
yeah,
I've spoken long.
Oh no. I'm just thinking. I'm trying to add on to that.
I would suggest say what you like about how they've sort of handled their PR and their engagement with the player base, but I mean, Star Wars Battlefront has done sort of the cool toys that everyone wants to have quite well.
Yeah.
In that, obviously, it's not going to make that much sense when it comes to sort of releasing them halfway, you know, having them come into the game halfway through the match. The way that they do it with this sort of, if you're performing well, you get the cool toys.
Yeah.
You get the option of the cool toy.
Well, that's kind of what I'm thinking of, you know, like, though that's the same. So you play Battlefront, you start killing people, you're on like a 10 kill streak, and it's like, hey, you want to be a Jedi?
Yeah.
You're like,
I mean,
fuck maybe, yeah, I want to be a Jedi.
Maybe, I know, because it's not going to work if you bring them in halfway through the match, they're going to struggle to do anything. Maybe it would take the combined, the scores of everyone from the last match and say, you did really well last time. Would you like to be a battleship this time?
That's not a bad idea. Or maybe multiple battleships, and like, let's say there's 2 of them or something like that, and one of them gets a seat from the beginning of the match, whoever kind of clicks it first, type of thing, and then the second one gets in. I mean, as much as people want to bitch about that, that's a lot of games work like that. You know, Battlefield.
Rising Storm works like that. What we were playing yesterday.
Exactly.
It's exactly the same. You get in first. Maybe you get a marksman slot. You get to choose what you want. You load slowly.
Yeah, and while that sucks, and people are gonna complain about it, I mean, it's an idea on a way that these could function. It's the same thing with any Battlefield game. You want to play a tank, you got to spawn first to click on the tank, or be dead while a tank spawns to see it. And that kind of helps the whole like balance thing, where there's not 35 tanks every game just driving around fighting each other. Same thing with squad. You know, you have to get into a squad that is willing to multi-crew a tank type of thing. And I think that's just how the direction kind of has to go with battleships, because they're seeing how destroyers function in this game. Battleships are significantly larger. It's not, I mean, a destroyer looks huge when you're in a little PT boat and you're like, wow, that thing's huge. It's got like 500 crew. These battleships have like 1,800, 2,000 people on them. These guns are
3 times
huge.
the size of a destroyer.
Like, what's the biggest gun right now in naval? Like 180 maybe?
Yeah.
The Bismarck, what size were the guns? Like 300 mils almost? 280?
Something like that, I think,
Yamato had the heaviest.
Yeah, 300 and something. 350 or something on the Yamato. 400 maybe? 405 mil? I don't know, but they're huge. And the armor on those things is immense. I mean, how many torps did it take to sink the Bismarck? You know, and how many ships chased that thing down? And in real life, that was only like 70% complete.
460 millimeters.
Yeah.
On the Yamato.
Yeah, and I mean the segments, like I think the Bismarck was broken down into 28 separate segments for water fillage. So if it got hit with a torp, it would distribute the water flood amongst these 28 different separate rooms. So it would maintain the ship's fucking buoyancy. It's crazy. It's insane. So there have to be some type of balancing thing. It's not the same as like spawning a destroyer off the bat, or an Emden even.
Honestly, they're just cute events. Doing it via an event where you have set vehicles from the event. Like, I mean, when you're on the deck and you have access to these sort of, you know, the extra stuff, the Gucci toys without researching them. Even if you don't have a press pack, right, you still get them at the end of your lineup, right?
Mm-hmm.
Something like that. But obviously, throwing people into that randomly at the start of a game. Sometimes you might get a terrible battleship. That's just, you might get any sort of terrible vital equipment in any sort of game.
Yeah.
And sometimes people are going to be bad with the thing.
They'd be like, I don't want to play in the what's the one that got ammo racked by the Bismarck immediately?
The hood?
The hood, yeah. You're like, I don't want to be in the hood. Oh man, I gotta be the hood. But yeah, it would be cool. And I think another thing that should start happening, or that they should think about on the smaller scale, more realistic, because battleships will take a lot of time and a lot of testing, is nation battles. Like right now it's all mixed for boats. I'd like to see nations fighting each other.
Yeah,
I think they all have good vehicles and good ships, and they could probably do that. I think that would be cool.
I think so.
Now,
there is a lot of development that could happen.
yeah, and okay, so we are kind of skipping one when we're talking about battleships, but this is just because I think this is what a lot of people want. Everybody hears naval from World War II, and they're like, "Oh, Musashi, give me the Musashi, give me the Yamato. I want the Iowa," and I get that. But there's also a lot of boats in between that we don't have in the game right now. I mean, the highest tier cruiser we have is like the Emden, and what's the Omaha for America, where we made a lot of cruisers. And this is another topic that we could talk about, because I don't know so many like boats like that. I know the ones that I've played, of course, from World of Warships and shit, like the Cleveland and the Atlanta. But we have the Albatross, which has Exocet missiles in it already, on it. They're not functioning.
Yeah.
And modern cruisers don't really use guns the way that old cruisers did. They use missiles. And a lot of them, some surface to air, some ship to ship, some shoot down missiles coming in. And I think going that direction too could be cool without adding the battleship aspect of the game. Mm-hmm. So like we already have AGMs on helicopters that launch and you can guide them. What about a Seahawk with harpoons on it that can take off from a cruiser that you own? So, or some of these bigger cruisers could launch float planes to scout.
I like that a lot. Like, I was trying to write up this kind of gameplay treatment, like a mode kind of thing, about how all boats could be able to do their thing right, and that's like a big part of it. So you need to, for the really big ships that don't really move really slow, and it's like, what are you going to do for 5-10 minutes before you get to the action? You got to give them something to do. And the idea is, like, I came up with two things. Let me know what you think. So the first one could be give them like an island to shell. Maybe that drains tickets slowly if they hit the right points. Or, I don't know if most ships could do this or only some could, but if so say if the map's huge, we've got a really big map, but it's not a problem because the types of ship are already in their areas where they can do stuff. Say there's landing craft and patrol ships that are trying to get to each team's like island base or whatever, and the river boats and patrol boats can sit around the island and stop them from getting there. Whereas the destroyers, cruisers, and battleships are somewhere far off, like away from the coast, protecting a convoy. But I like the idea that I don't know if this would kind of always work because people would learn the maps, but if it was random each time and the convoys spawned in different places, and in the beginning of the matches, the larger ships that couldn't really do anything, so that say there's like a set course that they're on for like 5 minutes, and they follow that, and in that time you can launch a float plane and find the enemy fleet.
Yeah, that would be
really
cool.
Then you can react to that, and like maybe if you find the enemy fleet before the other team, you can send the destroyers off, or like the subs even, like on a different course to intercept them before, like just something dynamic like that. But because the problem you kind of get with that, if some ships aren't really implemented, is like the Russian river boats. What if someone brings one of those out? What's that going to do?
Yeah,
you're going to need them to be like near an island doing something, and everything needs to have a good role, but not everything can kind of have a role if it's too condensed. So I think like if the ticket gain was linked to different things and wasn't finite to the point where you need to take out like every ship to win. It's like riverboats have one objective, Patrol boats have one objective, larger ships have one objective, and each little thing they do slowly brings the tickets back, and it's about the objectives and not so much taking out the individual boats. Like, I think that's the only way where, in the long run, having all types of ships would work. But it would need a really big map and a lot of dynamic spawns and stuff.
So, I mean, it even falls into the point of maybe like boat EC type of thing. And what I'm
that is a
thinking,
good idea.
what I'm thinking now is like a really big island, something that you can't really shoot over. One of those. This is just one of the map options, but this is like an idea. You take a map that has like big mountains on it. You know, it's a big island. It would take like 5 to 10 minutes to sail around it, counter like halfway. You know what I mean? To even get shots on an enemy fleet. But through the middle is a bunch of river systems and canals into this island, where there's a cap point. And so what if there was a cap point on each side for the big fleet, you know, that's inevitably going to go AI on course and hit the cap, which will cause a fight anyway. So like the AI boats that are in this fleet that we're talking about, the hypothetical fleet, we're going to make it to the cap anyway, or maybe their objective is a little different. And then for these little PT boats, they get to go in these river networks and get to the other side of the island faster, while also fighting the other boats trying to get inside the cap. And maybe there'll be some stagnant objectives somewhere along the riverside, because you know, they're river boats. They're specifically designed to sail up a river and cause some infantry support and stuff. And I think that's not really implemented right now. We just kind of have open water with a bunch of randomly placed rocks and stuff in the middle, and then you'd be like, all right, cap these 3 points. Like, all right, that's cool, but I've been capping 3 points for 5 years.
Exactly. It's just stale doing it all the time. It doesn't make any sense either. Like, why are you sitting in like a bit of open water?
Yeah.
It's like it comes across like it's a placeholder.
Yeah.
And like another thing before I kind of forget about it is like the riverboats, especially, like those guns couldn't work on like open ocean waves because they'd just be flopping about all over the place and they wouldn't be able to actually put fire down. So to have like a lot of the Russian early boats, they consist of all of those types of vehicles and they wouldn't work anywhere else. So you need to have a part of the map where they can do their job and they're not out against other vehicles or other ships that, you know, can get the guns on target, whereas they can't. Like, there needs to be areas, like you're really right, there needs to be areas where they work and they work and they all kind of contribute towards like a greater objective.
Yeah.
It's really important.
I think it would be very important to do that. So I think we touched on most of the stuff for boats.
Yeah.
It was a lot. But I think there's, you know, there's a lot of room to grow for the boats.
Definitely.
And I do think a lot of these things are placeholders. Just because
I definitely feel like game modes in general has to be definitely something that's looked at.
Yeah, and that's not even just boats. I mean, that goes far.
As I said, it's not just.
So that's exactly what I think. You guys want to take some questions from chat? Because that was a pretty easy conversation, but we have been talking already for like an hour and 10.
Yeah.
So chat, if you have any questions, and we can answer anything or have a little discussion about anything right now.
That's a claim.
What?
We can answer anything.
Well, no, I'm worth unrelated, obviously.
Yeah, Voki, actually, we exist. Crazy. Mental.
Yep.
That's a good first question.
And I have played Battle Station Specific.
Some of us stream.
Who streams?
Voki said, wait, what, are they girls playing War Thunder? And so I said, yeah, some of us stream.
Here's a good one. Tier 6 jets. How do you guys feel about those?
Have you seen these touted finger quotes leak videos that are doing the rounds? A complete lie.
No, I haven't.
Basically, some people have been saying some things on the basis of finger quotes. I've been told by Gaijin, but they haven't been told by Gaijin. It's like people saying, oh, we've been told this thing at Gamescom, and then people who actually went to Gamescom are saying, no, that didn't happen.
Do we have the leak video? I want to see it.
I can, yeah, they're in the CP 2.0 Discord.
Oh, I don't know where that is.
He is one of them.
Is it actual plane footage? Oh, no, it's a list. Okay, no, I'm not watching that.
And who was the other one? No, but
I thought it was gameplay.
no, of course not, because they don't exist.
Yeah, no,
It's
that's
just
what I meant. I thought it was like
making...
somebody modded the War Thunder to have like supersonic jets or something. That's what I thought it was.
No, it's
Anything
like a My
that
Dad Works at
somebody,
Nintendo type thing.
yeah, if anybody's saying stuff like that, I mean, you guys gotta understand. I mean, dude, they don't listen. I think I have decent connections. They don't tell me about the dev server till that day. So let's just put that in perspective.
Exactly.
You think random people are gonna be knowing everything? Yeah, no. But yeah, no, I think too,
It is. It's a My Dad Works at Nintendo situation.
I think
But people watch these videos and think, take them as gospel and then complain. It's like, I saw a video about this 3 weeks ago that said this thing and that thing, and you're not putting it in the patch. And then Gaijin just sort of sat there going, yeah, well, don't listen to liars.
yeah, makes sense. Be like, yeah, no, we haven't put it out yet. But that being said, I do think tier 6 jets are probably like on the horizon. At some point, they're working on it. They have to be. So, what would you like to see from that? I mean, everybody wants a MiG-21, right? I think we're all under that notion. I need a MiG-21 in my life.
I'm really not that fussed. I want to see more CAS planes.
Yeah, more CAS.
I'm not bothered
like
about
what?
fighters. I'm not bothered about first generation anti-aircraft missile, air-to-air missiles, because they were bad.
Yeah,
and
they
people
were
are
bad.
very disappointed when they get like a
they're gonna be super disappointed.
a phantom with no gun, and then they're trying to use like air-to-air missiles, and their target moves by 20 degrees, and the air-to-air missile just flies off into the sun, and they'll be thinking, "This is not good," and it's like, "Well, you wanted this."
It's the whole idea of, I'm not saying ignorant in a bad, like a derogatory term, but people who are ignorant to the systems and how things worked in real life is, Generation 1 sidearms or sidewinders and stuff.
Sidewinders.
They had like what, 8% hit.
It's very low.
8% hit ratio.
It's very low, and it has to be like a tail-on approach.
Yeah.
You have to be tracking them the whole time. Well, tracking up to the point that you fire. Basically, if an anti-aircraft missile is not an all-aspect missile, it's sketchy.
But I do think that there is still an era of gun wielding jets that can move faster than the ones we have now, which would be cool.
Yeah, I think ground, like, the more advanced ground strike jets are probably coming in the long run. Also, like, the only reason I think this is because whenever Gaijin do the Q&As and people ask them about them, they never say, they come up with really odd excuses that they could easily fix, and it makes me think that they're just
we can't put
right?
supersonic planes in the game.
We can't bring in the SU-25 and the A-10 because of the payload. You can literally just limit the payload.
Exactly, and I think
just put less things on it.
Exactly, they're deflecting until it's all done. I think, and that's the only thing. I think that's the. And,
you want to build hype, and it's very, very far away.
Yeah, but I think it
I mean,
will.
even in that Q&A, they just go, "If you've played for a while, you probably know when Italian tanks are coming," rather than actually straight up just saying it.
Yeah. This is a good question that segues into it. Since the FJ4B came out, we're getting more newer tanks and aircraft. You think that we'll have homing ATGMs, something like an A-10, fire and forget, I'm assuming you mean, some laser-guided bombs? I hope so. I'd like the A-10. I'd like the SU-25. I'd like some stuff that I could drop a bomb and forget about it. I think it'd be cool. But
cool.
Again,
do I think it would be cool? Yes. Do I think it would make good gameplay? No.
Yeah. It's like, how do you balance that? I mean,
AA with SAMs.
Yeah, I was just about to say you're right. They did kind of half confirm that that's probably something they're gonna do.
And I mean, if chaff and flares.
Chaff and flares though are not press button escape missile.
No, of course they're not.
But it's something that I saw recently, sort of discussions on Reddit of people talking about anti-air missiles and this is going to be cool and blah blah blah. On the actually on the post of the data mining from the igloos on helicopters that we were talking.
Mm-hmm.
Like a flare is not a press button escape missile thing. There are a lot of things you have to do to escape a missile, and even then, it's not have to. It's may, or rather, it's not will escape. It's might escape.
But yeah, that's the whole idea, at least for helicopters. I mean, we were talking about planes.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want somebody to just press flares and all of my missile goes away. They have to fly too and get out of that situation that they've been put into. And hopefully that would put more precedent on flying your helicopter accordingly, not just camping at X altitude with 16 toes and shooting with your A7-1Z, A7-1Z, you know, like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna kill these guys because I got the chopper first, and I get to kill possibly 16 tanks from an altitude that nobody can touch me unless they spawn in a plane. Whereas if there's a Tunguska on the ground, that whole situation becomes way different. And I do think that the radar is a little iffy right now because it'll, you know, you just spam the target and you'll find them and then pop it up. I wish it was more so you actually did have to confirm, like you saw a plane, and then maybe click on it, and then the radar would pop it.
Yeah,
something like that.
An idea I like is something similar to range finding. So you lock onto a plane, you hit a key, and it takes like 10 seconds for you to acquire. And like if you disengage the lock, you need to redo it. I think that'll be like a nice way to balance them a little bit.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I'm just kind of afraid of them turning into sort of point at plane fire. I don't want that.
Yeah, I think there needs to be like some kind of limiter.
Well, again, these are early missiles. You know, they don't have a 100% hit rate. They are definitely better than Sidewinders, like the early Sidewinders. But you know, I don't think there should be 100% chance of killing something, especially if they have their flares and they know how to defensive fly. They should be able to break a lock, and that would implement the whole lock system anyway. You're playing DCS, you know when you're getting locked. It's like beep, 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 beep. You know what I mean? It's like there's this little beep. Once it starts to get more rapid, you know something's actually trying to acquire a target on you. And the time it takes to lock and shoot one of those things, you know, I hope that could balance it. I don't know how fast they do it in real life, but as far as a game and like playing a game, I think, you know, if you could make the time, I don't know, maybe you said 10 seconds, something like that.
I think if it's a full-on IR missile, you can just launch it and it'll track the arse end of the...
Yeah, but I'm talking about in-game.
I'm not sure if you need to do like a pilot lock.
I hope there is, if they implement it in-game. I hope there is some sort of lock system, because, you know, if a plane like a Saber, for example, you're trying to hit a Saber with one of these, it's moving like 1,000 over the battlefield. It's only going to be in your view for X amount of time if he's flying low, which he should be, because he knows that radar guided missiles are a thing now.
That's true.
So I think like the pilot lock type of thing, and then, you know, Gaijin gets to get their way with the modules. Your crew skills are better if your locks are faster, if you do this or that, you know, and that's kind of, I think, a workaround for that.
Yeah, I think so.
But yeah, I don't think radar AA is super strong. But how do you guys feel about that?
I feel like for some aircraft it completely, well, for like, I'm kind of cautious about saying it, but I think in some instances right now they completely negate some aircraft, like they can't get close kind of thing. But I think that's only because
those aircraft shouldn't even be in that battle to begin with.
Yeah, but that's like the highest option certain nations have got for actual CAS.
Yeah, I think every nation does have a CAS plane at a top tier now. What nation doesn't?
I want some parity of other nations having an FJ4B equivalent of the
Oh, okay, that's a different topic.
As we said last time.
I'm just saying,
but in terms of top tier CAS, the Americans are definitely far and away ahead of everyone else.
Well, yeah.
Sure, you can bring in your MiGs and stuff, but
or your IL-28SH.
With
192 rockets. No. But it gets rockets. 192.
It does. 192 of the ones that you don't like.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about that, Rotor, like radar line of sight break. I think that definitely needs to happen.
I feel France and Britain are kind of lacking on the CAS front at top.
At top tier, yeah. I mean, you get the Valtor, but the Valtor is tough to use. It does get a fucking deadly arsenal, though. Now, that being said, I played Sim the other day against some French guys using the Valtors. 6 per game. They would get 6 per game in one Valtor life.
Yeah, I guess.
And it was some of the most disgusting thing I've ever seen. Because they take the one without gun, or they take the ones with guns. Load out they get, I think it's 8 750-pound, or 8 or 9 750-pound bombs. 2 on the wing, or 4 on the wings, and then 6 internal. I don't know if I did the math right on that, but yeah, it's 10. But they would just, you guaranteed 6 kills. They would bomb everybody. So, you know, I don't know. It's just a thought.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, obviously I'm just saying this with like a level of naivety because I don't really play top tier that much. I don't know how effective they are. I just, as an outsider looking in, they don't seem as comparable to the other nations right now. So
Yeah,
again,
no,
like,
they definitely are.
wrong.
No, they definitely are weaker. Like, the FJ4B is by far the best cast plane in the game right now. In terms of dummy firing rockets. Not even to talk about the fact that you can control them.
Yeah.
And there needs to be equivalence.
Yeah.
I don't know about tier for tier though. There are some definitely some shining examples in other trees as well.
Well, yeah.
But
What other
not like
nation
top
at
tier.
6.7 gets an ME262 with the 50 mil that kills everything? Or the Horton. You know, nothing is
What other
comparable.
nation at, I can't remember the BR, gets
Hydra's on a Corsair.
100 plus snebs on a Corsair.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, I mean, that's part of the, you want balance or do we want realism type of thing? Can't get both, I guess.
Yeah. We talked about this on episode 1. Like, there are definitely parallels that could be brought in to level the playing field a little bit with regards to the FJ in other nations.
See, I think the strengths with those nations are they have some unique features that not every nation gets. You know, for example, the AMX-40, while it's not an Abrams and it doesn't get an FJ as a lineup, it gets a 20 mil as a coax, which is nice to have. That's a unique feature, and it's not. I'm not saying that's the big enough reason to be like, oh, I'm only playing this now. But it's definitely something different, and if more of the nations had things like that,
Definitely, I think.
you know. But yeah, we can take a couple more questions, I think. Italy has 0. Italy doesn't have tanks, mate. They don't have tanks yet, so we don't even need to complain about Italian cast.
They did just get the premium Romanian duck, which is probably very adequate, I'd say, for the mid.
Yeah, and they also get G91s, which are one of the best dogfighting planes in ground forces, and they're gonna be, undoubtedly.
And if they get G91s, they will get G91s with loads of sneb, and snebs are effective at cats.
And 30 mils. I want the 30 mil G91. Spawn camping? Okay, that's a decent topic that we could talk about for a little bit. How do you guys feel about spawn camping?
Zoom the maps out and give an approach avenue that the enemy can't drive into. Lower the out of bounds when it comes to spawns, so it's not 30 seconds. I can drive through any spawn I want with 30-second timer, pretty much.
Yep.
Zoom them out.
I think, I mean, I stole this idea from someone else, mostly, but why are there even arrows showing where the enemy spawn is?
That's a huge thing. Why? Why does it tell you?
It's just like, if there was like an area, like a general area where they spawned in, and like you don't put the flags in, maybe like when you spawn in, there's like a sweeping arrow that shows the.
I like that
direction
idea
from.
too. Yeah, I was just gonna touch on that.
Yeah, it's like if you take, I mean, you're just telling them where they spawn in. If you don't tell them, where are they going to camp? You know, I think that's such an easy thing to do, and it would really make.
It would make a difference, but it wouldn't make a difference to experienced players. And if anything, it would give people who spawn camp a lot. And if anything, it would give them an advantage having known that knowledge prior to the change.
They need to change where the spawn areas are. Obviously, like people who play the maps all the time know where they are without the arrows. But if it's like made more variable, I think, you know, it's definitely harder. And if they still have the thing where it shows people on the map when they get close to the spawn, I mean, it's not perfect, but in like the realms of what I can see Gaijin being able to do with the maps. Because I mean, I don't think they're going to put a huge amount of resources in redoing all the maps so the spawns work, because it's like people are going to still play the game regardless. Maybe a few people are going to quit, but not to the extent where it's worth putting in lots and lots of effort. So I think the only really thing we can kind of hope for is like a quick fix kind of thing. Like, I don't think they'll go full ham on, as much as I think they should, and I want them to, but I don't think it's like super viable at the moment.
Yeah,
I can understand that.
My only other idea is I like the sweeping arrow idea, but I would like if the maps kind of rotate, or the spawns rotated around the map. And
yeah, like turning Italy sideways. I like.
Yeah, I think it'd be cool, but like let's say you start in the normal spawns and then they slowly go 90 degrees, like around a clock or counterclockwise. Both spawns kind of move that way, and the arrows come in. It would start to make like the team on one side have to fight, and maybe even having the tanks spawn farther off the map, kind of thing would be cool.
I definitely think. I mean, the Cath, like opening up the spawns and like making the maps a little bit bigger, like that's pretty much the ideal for it. But like,
I'm not talking like crazy loads. Just zoom it out a bit, and then have an avenue that you drive into. So you have like a sort of, I don't know, like an area that one would drive through to get into the match. Obviously, it'll elongate the matches a bit because you've got to drive a bit further, but you're not going to get people spawn like parking behind or 90 degrees off the side of your spawn and you're having to worry about that.
Yeah, like I obviously that's the ideal. That definitely work. But like on a map like Advanced to the Rhine, you know how can you make that a little bit bigger? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
just delete some buildings, I guess.
Yeah,
or add the bridges outside of the
map.
But
at least, I guess my sort of intent with saying this is that, yes, you will still have people camping the spawn if you get pushed into your spawn, but they will be to your front when you spawn. They're not going to be all the way around you.
Yeah. But I feel like the other thing important to take into consideration is like, if you make that happen to such an extent, like what if there's one guy left alive and he's like, well, I'm just going to stay here for 5 minutes in my spawn, in my AA.
That happens anyway.
Yeah, but it happens to an extent where it can be dealt with. Like if you change it so
if
spawns
the
like
sit in the forests on like Fulda or Big Poland, they could easily elongate the match as the last person. Not even in the spawn. Like they may be able to sit in the spawn, and they may be able to sit in some bushes. You may be able to find them. You may also not find them for half of the ticket drain.
That's true, but I mean, I think getting it to a level where there's like an avenue where all of the tanks go into, you'd make it almost impossible. You know, it's like, it's possible right now. I mean, yeah, sure, it's not easy at all, but it's possible. And I think like, that's why spawn camping is still like, in essence, a thing, just because that's like, to a capacity that needs to be able to happen. But like I know what you mean, but I think, you know, like you put a whirlwind in like a place that you can't get into, and like it's shooting down everything coming into it, like it's just, that's not fun for anyone. I
don't necessarily mean like a super small road size thing, like a wide, couple 100 meters wide. Obviously in small maps like Advanced Warfare and things like that, there is issues with just some way to drive into the map so the enemies are to your front. Josh has a good point in chat. Spawn in a box at the match start and then drive in on respawn.
Yeah,
it's pretty good.
Yeah, I don't mind that idea either. But then we have to worry about how long it takes for you to drive into the match and whatnot.
Are we talking like 10, 15 seconds, 20 seconds, maybe just a couple of 100 meters, so that more so, sort of less like an avenue, like a physical avenue, but more so an area that the enemy cannot drive into. So like a sort of, if you imagine looking at the out of bounds zone around the spawns, make it so that they can only drive into a certain section of it to the front of people that are moving in. Mm-hmm. But in order to get this where you don't remove a load of the map, you have to zoom the map out of it. If you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's something that's kind of more
sense.
Yeah, we could talk about spawning forever and spawn camping and stuff, I think, because it's been such an issue for so long. But you know, there are ways around it. You have a good team who knows how to shoot things, then usually you don't get spawn camped. there are people who are assholes, more prevalent in Sim, I think, that just drive to the spawn, and I think those people need to go to the gulag. But
True.
other than that thing, where some Russian guy, not trying to hate on Russians, but it always seems like it's some random Russian guy, just drives to the back of the forest on Sim and just waits for you guys to spawn and kills you. That's not fun. But I think in RB it's more avoidable if you play well and if your team plays well.
Yeah.
Because, there are times when if you cap every point, what are you going to do? You go to the spawn. Like, there's nothing else to do. I'm not going to sit there and just wait. I'm going to finish the game.
If I've kept the point and there's nobody else to kill, I'm going to drive to the spawn.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think anyone thinks any other way about that.
But,
obviously, to be on the receiving end of that can make people a bit irritated.
yeah. But yeah, I think we're pretty good on time. We talked a lot about boats. We touched on map rotation a little bit. Talked about some tier 6 jets, spawn pushing, and yeah, I don't know. I think it was a good day.
I think so.
It was a good day. If you guys missed any part of the podcast, it will be live on my channel tomorrow or tonight. Probably tonight, maybe tonight. If you guys don't know who Oxy or Kath are, we'll link them in the chat currently, if I could find some links. But we do this podcast every Sunday at 12 p.m. EST, 5 p.m. GMT. Yes. And yeah, we just take topics from War Thunder and we apply them to the things. We have nice discussions about them, things we can change, hopefully swaying the future of the game itself. Hopefully. Right on,
Should we
brother.
Should we do some lineup discussion next week?
Definitely, yes.
Yeah, so if you guys want to give suggestions for next week's discussions, maybe in the comment section for the podcast video would be a good place, and we can read through that during the week and kind of make a nice outline of what we're going to talk about. Because this was kind of like a boat talk for most of it.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe an esports discussion in the coming weeks. And I think we're not opposed. We plan on having some guests and stuff, some people to come talk and give their experiences and stuff like that. I know, Kath, you said you wanted to do some like really in-depth analysis on certain vehicles. And I mean, if we're doing one of these every week, we can't just talk about spawns every week, So if we could talk about more how to get better type of thing and things, that'd be pretty cool.
You can be zooming in and zooming out and zooming in and zooming out, so you can focus on something very specific, like one vehicle for a bit, and sort of not wins and fails, but positives and negatives of a thing. The
we can dip
the
in and out.
broader meta discussions. You can dip in. We'll go all sorts of places and angle better.
Yeah. And we could teach people how to angle better if they need to know.
Exactly. Perfect.
Turn sideways a little bit.
So, Kath, are you going to stream?
No, I got work in a bit, and I'm a bit sad. I'm gonna go to.
Okay. Oxy, are you going to stream?
I want to kind of stop the content for like a few days after all of this stuff.
So, if you guys don't know, Oxy just made a video again. And this is a great day because he never makes videos. So I suggest you all watch this while we end. I'm personally going to be live a little bit later. We'll see when. I still have to make some videos and stuff. But thank you guys for stopping by. It was a good discussion this week. Go check out that video. It's an hour and a half long if you want to learn how to play War Thunder. I think that's a good place to start.
We did just watch it.
We did watch it. That was the background.
Go watch it with sound.
But you should, yeah. He's talking. It's not just the background footage is just good. So yeah, go check that out if you're new to War Thunder. If you have any questions, I think I even learned stuff from it, which is crazy. So thank you guys for stopping by. Hopefully we'll see you next week around the same time, same place, and hopefully we have more cameras and maybe Croc will show up. We'll see. We might have to just kick him off at this point. Show up.
Third time is the charm. Third time is the.
We'll get a new Croc.
But All right. I'll see you guys. Thanks for watching. Bye. Have a great time. Lyra said hi.
Oh, I said hello.
Tell her she's cute again.
Kat said you're cute again.
Tell her I said thank you.
She said thanks.
I don't know what she looks like, so, but I'm sure she's.
Just link on my Twitch.
Yeah, I'll show you. Okay, but I'm going to end the stream, guys. Thanks for stopping by. Again, if you missed anything, it'll be up on the channel with the appropriate links. I'm a trucker, 100%. We'll end it on that.
See you next Sunday, boy.
Doses. Also, thanks Snipper and Boogie for the subs. Appreciate you guys. All right, bye.